Hey everyone, I'm Olivia Gullion. The book I chose to read is the Autobiography of Martin Luther King Jr. It was written by Martin Luther King Jr. himself and edited by Claiborne Carson. It was published in 1998. So during the beginning of the book, it started off with Martin Luther King Jr. as a young child and went through his whole entire life during all of his hardships and major accomplishments. Martin Luther King's parents always stressed him how important he was and to understand his worth and to also love his neighbor, no matter what race. When Martin Luther was just a young child, his best friend was a Caucasian little boy, but the segregation got between them, sadly. But you need to read the book to hear about all of that. Martin Luther King was also a Christian pastor, along with his father. And Martin Luther King also had a wife who was his biggest supporter, and Martin Luther King stated multiple times throughout the book how important she was to him and how supportive she was. Martin Luther King's goal was to end segregation, which he had a humongous part in, and during all of this time, through him getting arrested 13 times to traveling to protesting and standing up for what he believes in, she was right there by him, even though they weren't able to see each other much. I absolutely loved this book, and I totally recommend it. I listened and read the audiobook, which was incredible because throughout the audiobook, it included actual speeches of Martin Luther King Jr., and I was able to hear Martin Luther King say it himself, and I could hear the passion in his voice and also the pain to end segregation. He was so passionate about this, and after reading this, I truly understand he made such a huge impact on the world today, and just truly an amazing person. The reading was also very enjoyable, and you could totally understand it very easily. I am one who struggles to find books that intrigues me and that interest me. But with this, I did not want to stop listening to it and put it down. I truly loved it. And I'm just so happy that I chose this book, because I think I understand now that it is possible for me to love reading, and I've learned so much about Martin Luther King Jr. and throughout the past in the 1950s because of this book. So my lesson plan will be for 4th grade. Leading up to the lesson plan, we will be learning about the civil rights movement, segregation, Martin Luther King, and the impact others had on the world. My lesson will be based on the Montgomery bus boycott. So, in 1955, Rosa Parks, along with others before her, refused to give her seat up on the bus. Martin Luther King Jr. led a 385-day boycott, which led to the end of segregation on all Montgomery buses. This means for 385 days, the African American people did not ride a bus. They chose to walk to work or wherever they needed to go. They chose to carpool or do whatever they needed to do to not get on the bus. But they did this very peacefully. They did not harm anyone, which was amazing. But it worked. It might have taken a year and a few days, but it did work, and all of the laws on Montgomery buses were passed. So during my lesson, the students will be able to identify the causes and effects of the Montgomery bus boycott. So the first thing that we're going to do, we're going to watch the video, The Montgomery Bus Boycott by the Crash Course. During this video, it just explains and goes into depth about the Montgomery Bus Boycott and what made this happen, and what happened, the causes and effects of it. Then, after that, my students will partner up. Of course, they will be partnered up according to their educational needs, and they will read 3 paragraphs about the Montgomery Bus Boycott. They will stay partnered up, and my students will then complete a graphic organizer of the causes and effects of the Montgomery Bus Boycott. But thank you for listening. I'm so glad I chose the Autobiography of Martin Luther King Jr., and I definitely think you should read it too. I read the entire book, cover to cover, and every word of every page. Thank you.